Hey, I'm Rob Shaver, and this is Spark to Flame, where I give you ideas, insights, and inspiration for better marriages. And this is the third video in a series that I'm doing on this one difficult conversation that Queen Esther has with King Xerxes, and she draws it out, and I'm drawing it out. But it's a difficult conversation that I think we can learn a lot from. Video 1 and 2, we looked really at Esther and the things that Esther did in order to have the difficult conversation. But in this video, I want to highlight what King Xerxes does. And what he does is really a huge part of why this goes successfully. He is generous, right? He's very generous. And I think when he sees the queen in the courts, he's pleased with her. But then when she approaches, he gives her permission. So this would be the first thing. We saw that Esther asked for permission. The king grants it. So if your husband or wife is coming to you, so now we're looking not on having to be the initiator of the conversation, but what is the best way to deal with a difficult conversation if you are the one being approached, right? Your husband or wife is coming to you and they're saying, we need to talk about something. So here's what we need to do. First, give permission. You need to give permission. And the second thing he does is he gives it generously. He says to her, he says, anything up to half the kingdom, you name it, and it's yours. So that is such a strong response, is rather than be defensive, right? Rather than be unapproachable or to put up our guard or to cross our arms and say, or not give it time, he makes the time and he says, look, whatever it is that you need to say to me, say it. And so that is an attitude that he doesn't just say those words, he means it, and he puts it, he backs it up, right? She doesn't get right to it, she prolongs it, and he's patient with her and he takes the time. So a couple of things that we can learn from the king right there. Thanks for tuning in to this series on having difficult conversations. I actually just read that the ability for couples to have difficult conversations is a huge predictor in marital happiness and if a couple stays together. And that ones who can do it and do it well are 50% more likely to be happy or stay together. So very important materials to be absorbing and hearing, and that is my goal in all of these videos, is to bring you valuable insights and really good ideas or inspiration that's going to help your marriage. So if you could take 1 minute and just help me out by subscribing to this channel and liking these videos so that I can grow this platform. That is a very helpful tool for me. The more subscriptions I get, the more I can do with just YouTube and beyond. So thank you for taking a minute to liking this video and subscribing to this channel. So we've heard some of what King Xerxes did. We're going to wrap up with one point about hypotheticals that affected both Esther and Xerxes in this situation. Thanks. Instead of saying I ran over the cat, or I forgot to get your medicine, or whatever it might be, you could speak in a hypothetical and you could say, how would you feel if I told you I ruined something that you love? Or how would you feel if I admitted, or I addressed this thing that you're sensitive about? And so you're not necessarily saying the exact thing. You're helping that person. This is kind of going back to, if you're the ones who's doing the approaching, you're helping that person kind of get in to the setting without actually feeling attacked or being emotionally involved. They can logically put themselves there. So that could be a strength from the person who's bringing up the conversation, but it can also be a strength from the person who's hearing it and receiving it initially, is remove yourself from the situation and put yourself in the hypothetical. So rather than it just be like, all right, throw it on me, what's all the bad news, or what do you want to talk about? It's he gives the hypothetical, right? Anything up to half the kingdom. And so you are kind of preparing yourself for the worst. So that is the second thing, or maybe the third thing that he does that is very good as far as the receiver goes. He's saying, I can handle your request up to this much, kind of almost like preparing yourself for the worst case scenario. All right, what's the worst thing that you could say to me? I'm going to prepare myself for that. Like, you're going to end this relationship, or you're cheating on me. Okay, that's you've lost all of our savings. So then when you come to me and you say that, you made a bad decision and you lost $100, well, that's a whole lot better than our whole life savings. So I've prepared myself as the receiver. And obviously there's a bad route you can go with this and you get really anxious about it and start assuming the worst. So I'm not suggesting that. Just that if we set ourselves up in the logical aspect of the hypotheticals, to allow yourself to not be overly emotionally involved, but to judge the situation and say, okay, here are the worst things that I could hear about, or here's kind of my capacity of hearing, and then to express that generosity to the person who is coming to you with the difficult conversation. And what you are essentially doing by doing that is you are, in your generosity, you are setting them at ease, right? You're making the difficult conversation not so difficult.